Hey, Vintage Car Chronicles listeners. Welcome to this special deep dive made just for you guys. We're going to take a close look at Cosworth today. That name that's practically like the gold standard for high-performance engineering, especially in the car world.
You know what always gets me about Cosworth? It's their journey, man, over like, what, 6 decades? They started as this tiny engine shop, right? And then, bam, they're powering some of the most legendary cars in racing history, and even beyond that.
Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of articles and like historical stuff on Cosworth here. Where should we even start? What's the big picture we should be looking at?
Well, it all began back in 1958. In the middle of, Britain's crazy motorsport scene that was blowing up back then, you had these two brilliant engineers, Keith Duckworth and Mike Costin. They got together, combined their names, their love for engines, and just a ton of ingenuity. And that's how Cosworth was born.
Oh man, those origin stories always get me pumped. You've got two guys basically starting in a garage, and boom, they end up changing the whole game of racing.
Yeah, totally. Early on, they were all about tweaking Ford engines, specifically for Formula Junior and all these other races that were getting popular. But even way back then, Keith Duckworth, man, he was so meticulous. He actually invested in a dynamometer, that device for like really precise engine measurements. That was a huge gamble back then, but it shows how much they cared about getting every detail right.
It's like, imagine a musician right before their first gig. They decide to drop a ton of cash on a super high-end instrument.
Exactly. They knew they had to have the best tools to reach their goals. And it didn't take long for their work to catch the eye of someone really important. Colin Chapman, the guy behind Lotus cars.
Oh, okay, now things are getting juicy. Chapman was known for his super innovative, lightweight car designs, and he saw the potential in those Cosworth engines. This was the beginning of something big. I can feel
Oh,
it.
yeah, for sure. Chapman and Duckworth, they pushed each other to constantly innovate. Their partnership, it didn't just change their companies, it changed the whole world of motorsports.
Okay, let's talk about their first big win, the DFV engine, double four-valve, for those playing along at home. Developed for Formula One way back in 1967. And wow, this thing became legendary. 154 Grand Prix victories over 16 years. That's insane.
The DFV, it's like a monument to how good Cosworth was at engineering. Lightweight, compact design, perfect for that shift towards mid-engine car layouts happening in Formula One back then.
So it wasn't just raw power, right? The DFV's design helped with the handling and weight distribution of those new race cars, too.
Absolutely. Huge advantage on the track. And that's part of why the DFV was so successful.
So it is lightweight, compact, and on top of that, super reliable and powerful, consistently beating those heavier 12-cylinder engines that were all over the place.
Yeah.
What was their secret?
Well, part of it was this super innovative technique Chapman came up with. He used the engine as a structural part of the car itself. This trick made the car even lighter and stiffer, even better handling, faster lap times.
So the engine wasn't just an engine, it was a key part of the car's chassis. Did that idea catch on, using the engine as part of the structure?
Oh, yeah, totally. It became a standard thing in high-performance car design, not just in Formula One either. And if all that wasn't enough, the DFV was so adaptable, they made turbocharged versions, the DFX and DFS. They dominated IndyCar racing, too.
One engine design, impacting so many different forms of motorsport, shows how far ahead of the curve Cosworth was.
And their influence didn't stop there. They teamed up with Ford, created some of the most iconic rally cars ever. The Ford Sierra RS Cosworth, everyone called it the Cosy, it changed the game.
The Cosy, a legend.
Yeah.
Killed it on the rally stages, and it became a cultural icon in the 80s. Besides looking awesome, what made it so special?
It was that super aerodynamic bodywork, paired with a powerful turbocharged engine developed by, you guessed it, Cosworth. The Sierra RS Cosworth dominated Group A racing, left a huge mark on motorsport fans and car culture in general.
Some cars, they're more than just cars. They become symbols of a whole era. The Cosy definitely did that.
No doubt about it. And that's just one example. Cosworth made other amazing engines too, like the BDA series, which started as a road engine for the Ford Escort, but then got modified for all sorts of racing. And then there's the YB series, another turbocharged beast, powered the Sierra RS Cosworth and its smaller, faster brother, the Escort RS Cosworth.
It's like every serious performance Ford back then had a Cosworth engine under the hood.
Pretty much. What made Cosworth stand out was their obsession with performance and their crazy attention to detail, always innovating. Like they were pioneers in developing desmodromic valve gear. That's a system where a separate cam and lever close the valves instead of relying on springs. allowed for higher engine speeds and more precision.
So they were like the watchmakers of engines, always pushing for more precision and performance. But did they ever actually make a lot of their engines for like regular cars, or were they always focused on those high-end specialized applications?
They definitely built their reputation on motorsports, but they
Yeah.
did make engines for regular road cars too. But their commitment to quality never wavered. They were known for insisting that even customer-owned DFE engines had to be sent back to Cosworth for maintenance to make sure they were always performing at their best.
Wow, impressive. Like a chef saying their signature dish can only be served at their restaurant to keep it authentic.
Exactly. They understood that their reputation was built on performance and reliability, and they did everything to protect that.
Okay, so Cosworth built a legacy in the golden age of motorsports, no question. But the car world, it's always changing. What about Cosworth today? Are they just a memory, or have they kept up with the times?
That's the million-dollar question, right? The car industry is changing like crazy, and it's really cool to see how Cosworth is handling all this new stuff. They're not stuck in the past, they're adapting and evolving. Not just holding on to their old wins, they're embracing new technology, pushing the limits in areas like hybrid systems and electric powertrains.
All right, I'm hooked. Tell me more about what they're up to now.
Well, one of the coolest things they're doing is working with Aston Martin on that Valkyrie hypercar. That car is an absolute monster, and Cosworth played a huge part in making it happen.
Oh yeah, the Valkyrie. Practically a spaceship on wheels. What did Cosworth actually do on that project?
They had to create the heart of the Valkyrie, and they did. A naturally aspirated 6.5-liter V12 engine, over 1,000 horsepower.
Whoa, hold on. That's a crazy amount of power. How do you even design an engine that powerful without using, like, turbochargers or something?
It shows just how deeply they understand engines and how much they want to push the limits of what's possible. And it's not just brute force, you know. They use some seriously innovative tech to make that engine super efficient and responsive.
So they're proving that there's still a place for those high-revving, naturally aspirated engines, even in this world of turbocharging and hybrids. But they're not ignoring the trends, are they? Everyone's talking about electric cars these days.
Nope, not at all. Cosworth knows about the shift towards electric, and they've been investing a lot in developing advanced technologies, like hybrid systems and electric powertrain parts.
So they're not stuck in the past. They're actually shaping the future of cars.
Exactly. They're taking all their experience with high-performance engineering and applying it to these new challenges. They're working on stuff like driver assistance systems, autonomy software, even electric powertrain parts.
It's great to see a company with so much history in motorsports embrace this new tech with so much energy.
Totally. It shows they really want to stay ahead of the curve. What's really cool is that through all this change, Cosworth has stayed true to their roots. That passion for performance, that dedication to precision engineering, that drive to always push the boundaries.
It's that never-ending commitment to excellence that's made them such a force in the car world. Speaking of which, I'm curious, we've talked a lot about Cosworth's impact on racing. But their expertise must go beyond that, right?
Oh, absolutely. Cosworth's influence goes way beyond cars. They've used their engineering skills in all sorts of industries, like aerospace and marine.
Wow, okay, now that's interesting. What have they done in those fields?
For example, they've developed engines for those unmanned aerial vehicles the U.S. Navy uses.
Really? So not just race car engines, but engines for military drones. That's some high-tech stuff.
It is. And they've also had a hand in developing tech for everyday cars. You might be surprised to know that Cosworth has worked with regular car manufacturers, helping make their engines more efficient and perform better.
So even if we don't see the Cosworth name on a family sedan, their engineering might be working behind the scenes, making our cars a bit better.
Exactly. Their impact is often subtle, but it's there, quietly shaping the car world in ways we might not even notice.
Amazing to think about how much they've done. But I have to admit, when I hear Cosworth, I think about those iconic moments in racing history. What do you think is the most important part of their legacy?
It's tough to choose just one thing, but their dominance in Formula One for so long, especially during that DFE era, that was something special. It's not just about the wins, it's about how they changed the sport itself. They influenced everything, from car design to engine technology, even how races were won and lost.
Like they wrote a whole chapter in the history of Formula One.
Exactly. Their engines powered some of the greatest drivers and teams ever. They contributed to some of the most memorable moments in motorsport. Their story really shows what you can achieve with innovation, dedication, and a real love for engineering.
A legacy that goes beyond generations. But looking ahead, the car industry is at a crossroads. Electrification, autonomy, connectivity, it's all changing. How do you see Cosworth's role changing in this new landscape?
That's the big question these days, right? The whole car industry is changing so fast. It's exciting to see how Cosworth is dealing with it all. They've already shown they can adapt. They're not hanging on to the past. They're embracing all the new tech, pushing the limits with hybrid systems and electric powertrains.
It's like they're taking that Cosworth magic, that drive for performance, and applying it to all these new challenges. What do you see for a company like Cosworth in this new world of cars?
Well, I think their deep knowledge of high-performance engineering is going to be super valuable even as things shift towards electric and autonomous. Think about it. Electric cars still need to be efficient. They need to be responsive, fun to drive. All that Cosworth expertise, lightweight materials, aerodynamics, powertrain optimization, it's going to be in high demand.
So even though the way we power cars is changing, the basic principles of performance engineering are still the same.
Exactly. And don't forget about their experience with software and control systems. As cars get more connected and autonomous, those skills are going to be crucial. Cosworth has a real chance to become a leader in this new tech landscape.
It's mind-blowing to think. A company known for building powerful engines for race cars can use that experience to shape the future of electric and autonomous vehicles.
It really shows how adaptable they are and how committed they are to innovation. They're not afraid of new challenges. They just keep pushing the limits.
Well, before we wrap up our look at Cosworth, I want to bring it back to our listeners, those Vintage Car Chronicles fans. Why should this history matter to people who love classic cars and the golden age of motorsports?
Cosworth's story reminds us that innovation doesn't just happen overnight. It's a constant evolution. And a lot of times, the tech that shapes the future, it has its roots in the past. Understanding Cosworth's journey, from tuning those early Ford engines to working on cutting-edge tech today, it gives us a deeper appreciation for how car performance has changed over time.
So when we see those classic Ford Escorts with Cosworth engines, or when we're blown away by a modern hypercar, we can see that line of engineering brilliance connecting them.
Absolutely. Cosworth's impact on the car world is huge. Their innovations have changed how we think about speed, performance, and just the pure joy of driving.
It's been awesome exploring the world of Cosworth. A huge thank you to everyone who joined us for this deep dive. And if you want to keep learning about automotive history, make sure to check out Vintage Car Chronicles, your daily dose of amazing stories and insights into the world of classic cars. We release a new episode every single day, so there's always something new to discover.
And as you dive into those stories of automotive greatness, we'll leave you with this thought. With electric cars and autonomous driving changing everything so quickly, how do you think Cosworth's unique expertise will shape the future of high-performance vehicles